ladies and gentlemen, welcome to part 2 of our Lighting the Candle, A World That Works, for today. And what are we doing? We're having conversations. This is just people talking. So if you tuned in, to see Jello fights or anything of that nature, that's not going to be us. We are really, really interested in kind of exploring the in-between of human beings and kind of getting into the whole idea of what causes empowerment, what allows people to be free to act powerfully in their lives, and how can we do that, and how can we give people access to that just simply through conversation. Does that sound like a pretty good summary, folks?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so what we're going to do this time is we're just going to briefly go around and introduce yourself very quickly, and I'm going to dive in on what I was saying in terms of the answer to the question asked in the last half hour. So Vanessa, would you please identify yourself and tell the folks who you are?
All right. Hi, everyone. Vanessa F. Lewis. I'm currently a marketing copywriter and a freelance writer. Started out my writing career as a songwriter, and really just a very curious person. And also, I realized pretty early on in that songwriting career that everybody has a story that's worth sharing. If you're alive here today, you have a story that can impact somebody in some way. And I love being on this podcast. We all gather around a virtual campfire and just talk about anything. We talk about maybe what would be like in a world that works, and just pass the candle around and share our thoughts and opinions. And so glad you can join us today.
Excellent. Tina?
Hi, I'm Tina Kadish of Life is Ideal. I'm a career change agent, and I help individuals to transform their life by loving what they do, really having passion, living a life with purpose, and what that results in prosperity. So I help people reinvent themselves, anyone who's laid off or wants a new career, and working for someone that they want to work for and loving what they do, not just a job. So I help people to get unstuck and create direction and focus.
Awesome. That's great. Ken?
I'm Ken Caputo, founder of Quester's Way, where families come to learn and grow together.
Fantastic.
Look at how fast I'm being today.
That was fast.
Shelley?
That'll be a hard one to follow. Shelley Kohler. I am a business consultant with the state of Connecticut. I help businesses of all sorts, assist them with either finding capital, marketing plans, mergers, acquisitions, everything that you can imagine, and mentor them, shifting from their personal to an entrepreneurship. I am also an advocate for coaching sports, youngsters, teenagers through collegiate for fast pitch softball.
Learn something new about you every week, you know that. That's fantastic. Thank you, Shelley. Lisa?
Hi, Lisa Shan. I've been in media for decades, and I decided to, in my free time, to answer the eternal question, why am I here? And because of all the learnings and the passions and what I've discovered, I wanted to put it somewhere, and then Epic Magazine found me, so now I have a place where I can put all the people, places, and things that are trying to make this world a better place in one, or raising the consciousness of Connecticut one page at a time, as we like to say.
Awesome.
In Epic.
Well, when you see the broadcast of this, you're going to say, Bill, you're doing a terrible job directing. I get so interested in what you're saying, I forget to make you the person that we're focusing on in the center. So just turning myself in advance. Ken, would you like to ask me today's question?
Yes, I would be happy to. So our question today is, what do you do when you perceive danger? Or you sense danger? I don't remember your exact wording because it kind of mattered.
Yeah, it has something to do with if you think you're in danger, what's the test to find out if it's true?
Okay. All right. There you go.
Okay.
You remembered the question better than I did.
I'm a good listener. Didn't say a word either, by the way. So I said in the last half hour, if you train yourself to make an initial decision in all circumstances, that you can come at a situation from love and you can be compassionate, and at the same time, you're ready to bring whatever it is that you have, you're at least going to you're going to have a probably different sense of the situation that's not based on helplessness. Okay. Now, what's my evidence for that? Well, with lots of training to talk to people and to ask questions that they're not necessarily interested in sharing, their true emotions or telling me, precisely what's going on in their world, it's incumbent, to make a decision that no matter what happens, and sometimes you can do this by negotiating up front. Look, you and I are going to have a conversation right now at the end of which we may not agree, we may not even be closer in terms of understanding each other, but when we end, we're still going to be friends. And that's how I'd like to complete the next, however many minutes it takes. Does that work for you? So now you got a contract. Now, it's not easy to do that in the physical world, especially when you consider, one of my favorite movies of all time was this person, and it might even have been a Twilight Zone episode, where for a half hour, all they're doing is fighting for their life. And in the midst of all of this heavy breathing and running and all the rest of this sort of thing. And at the end of the show, what happens is that they wake up in a room with somebody standing at the end of the bed. And he says, where am I and what am I doing here? Well, he thought he had been on a trip to Mars and had all of these trials and tribulations. He actually was in a simulator. And he lost consciousness, and they came in immediately and rescued him. So he had this sense of weeks of this going on. And they told him, you actually were unconscious for about 30 seconds. So we have the ability to experience life in a very powerful way, and most times it's not necessarily what's really going on around us. So why I like this conversation, we're not going to spend a lot more time on it, but we will spend some time talking about what's next. So if you're in a situation that you think may be dangerous, and that's an automatic human reaction, it's not one you think about, it's just present for you, and it's a response to whatever stimulus that there is there. So now you can respond to your response. And that's the only shot you have, by the way. If you take the moment to say, I've decided in advance that I'm always going to live. No matter what happens. This kid's not dying, okay? So now what's going on? Let's figure out what's going on here. I can listen to what anybody has to say. And if it's a situation where there's somebody who is threatening my personal body with a gun or a knife or something of that nature, or it's an animal or what have you, I can be fully engaged with whatever is going on over there so that I have an appropriate response and a reaction to what goes on. And part of the martial arts training is that 95% of the time, who loses the battle, Ken?
I got some background noise, so I've been muting.
Yep. 5% of the time, who loses the battle in a fight?
Well, 90% of success comes from the first move. So, it's all about preparation.
Yep. So in many cases, that first move is either waiting for the first move or initiating the first move and knowing when to do each. So where I'm coming from in this conversation today is, if you think that you're going to experience danger in your life, and how many of you are pretty sure that there is going to be danger between now and the time that we take that long ride to wherever it is, how would you like to behave in those circumstances? is it possible to prepare for that or to get some sort of either training or making some decisions, or in a lot of cases, it's just packing a big lunch, you know? This is going to be a problem. It's going to go on for a while, and I just refuse to engage with it moment by moment like I'm always at risk. Anybody have any of those types of situations? Like, for instance, with me, several times in my life, I've either been in the hospital for 30 days, not knowing what's coming the next day, or went through this situation with my mother in 2012 while I was also, having diagnoses for skin cancers, melanoma in that year, and pretty much put my business on hold. The rest of the folks took care of that, and my attention really had to be on the care of my body and the care of my mother's body. So from June to October 13th, that was it. She went from diagnosis, to a PET scan, and it's in your entire body, and we're going to do chemo, and we're going to do radiation and all the rest of that. And then every single day was some sort of a breakdown. And what I brought to the situation was, having gone through that month in the hospital in 2008, plus all the other training that I've been in, was the ability to be with no information, the ability to be with not going to be able to resolve this mentally before it gets resolved physically. Does that make sense? So either be in a situation of resisting it or dancing and having conversations with people that were not about how somebody was behaving, but how I wanted them to behave so that my mother would be happy and taken care of. So I had no idea where this was going to go today. And so all of that is just what's present for me right at the moment. And I appreciate all of you genuinely sharing in terms of answering a question that I had the audacity to ask you, and you were willing to answer. So now the next question is all right, so now that you've decided, pretend we're staying with my model for a moment, or you can talk about something completely different if you'd like to. If we're staying with the model of you're going to decide that the danger is not bigger than you are, in all circumstances, you are always the biggest badass in the room, no matter what it takes. It could be your mouth, it could be your body, it could be your ability to run away. Not to worry. So now how do you engage the situation so there's a win-win? Because being prepared for a disaster doesn't mean that you actually have to experience a disaster and leave it that way. Does that make sense? While we're creating a world that works, we're entering a world that doesn't work in this metaphor. So with that said, we'll bring it back around. And Vanessa, how would you then move from, again, making a decision that you're going to be fine, it's going to be okay, and you're in charge of what happens next? What would you do next?
I'm going to make a short answer, and then if it's all right, Bill, I'm just going to pass the candle over to someone else. I'm just going to say I would just, because, honestly, I don't think I fully understood your question. So I'm gonna wait for other answers, and then maybe I'll come back if we have time, but I'm just going to say that just a real simple answer, 4 words, I would just pray.
Fair enough. And I don't think I understood my answer either, so we're on the same team. Or my question. Tina, how about you?
So keywords that you use was decide that everything's going to be okay. So no matter what situation that you're faced with, that you make a decision mentally. So your mindset, you start to think, okay, I'm going to face this head on. It's going to be okay. I don't know how it's going to be okay, but it's going to be okay. So my recent experience, my daughter was diagnosed with cancer in November of 2019. Came out of nowhere, healthy, go to the doctor. She's diagnosed with stage 3C cancer. She passed away July 2nd. From November to July, I was in that decide, take charge, all in. I did not see it as it's going to go bad. I was optimistic that it's going to go okay. We're going to get through this. So I made a decision, got information, did all of that. Unfortunately, it didn't go to the way that mentally I had expected it. I wanted to go the right way. So I had made a decision in November, we're going to get through this. We're going to do it. We're going to do whatever we got to do to get through this. So I did make a decision, had a plan and everything. Unfortunately, God had another plan, and it was taken away from me. So from us, it was hard, a real hard pill to swallow, because the control, it was pulled away, and I did not plan it. So we can plan all we want, but things don't always go the way we want them to go. But
and I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your generosity. Anything else? All right, we'll move on to Ken. Got to get you unmuted. There you go.
There we go. Repeat the question again for me. It's just a win-win, right? You're looking for the win-win?
Yeah, so now that you've decided you're going to be okay under any circumstances, no matter what, what's the next step? What's the next move?
I think it's just understanding, just filling in the gaps, especially understanding if there's a source of your sense of danger or threat. Do you understand it? And it's funny, like there's a distinct difference between responding and reacting. There's an intentionality that comes from responding. Even when a punch is coming at your face, time is relative. If you've been punched in the face multiple times, it slows down for you. You actually have more time to breathe and kind of process that,
Sure.
because it's, so you can respond to it instead of just being in reaction and freaking out. And if you do react, understand why you react and then reframe it so that you can respond the next time. Unless it kills you, there's probably going to be a next time, right? So I guess the short answer is just listening and asking bigger and better questions to understand as much as you can. And then the potential for the win-win, eventually it's got to reveal itself.
Terrific. Anything else?
Just when in doubt, shut up and listen. It sounds a little harsh, but I think we could use a lot more of that right now. And those are conversations. I quickly agree to disagree if there's a lot of projecting of opinion and just positioning as opposed to a willingness to shut up and listen.
Yeah. Sometimes making a point is a booby prize. It's like,
yeah, and it's actually ends up being pointless. That's great. You're right. I'm out.
Next. All right, Shelley.
Yeah. So, I go to, once you've made the choice to make this a win-win, once you've made that choice, you've also taken on ownership. And I think ownership is a critical piece of I go to formulas, equations, because I work with numbers all day, but it is a significant part of the necessary piece to make things happen. If you take ownership, like that first move, you're taking ownership of setting the pace. You make that choice, you're going to set the pace. Though we don't know the outcome, and most times we don't, it's still it's a stance. You are standing for something, and sometimes you know what that is with protection mode, sometimes you don't. And the being comfortable with the unknown or the uncertain takes away that level of fear. It's like you just have to be comfortable with it. We know we can delve on 100 different ways it can go, but and then prayer comes in to kind of boost that emotion, and then the breathing to keep things centered. So I making that, we all say decide, and I know many years ago was really just taught not to use that word because it has the word "ide" in it, which means to kill off. Anything that has "id" at the end, there's something you're killing off to make this your ultimate decision. So, but when you choose, you just choose that, not because you don't want to do this or that. It's you're choosing this. So that's kind of where I've learned to kind of sit. It's a choice and then ownership, regardless of how that goes. You may have to backpedal because of whatever, but at least you made that and that choice, and you're standing for it.
Yep. Very, very great man once said, choose what you got.
Exactly.
Choose chocolate.
Choose chocolate.
Yeah. Chocolate, decide.
Chocolate choose.
I love it. Thank you. Lisa?
My thought was I'd like your idea, which makes sense, to predetermine your reaction to something, and that it's basically visualization. So, which is a great practice, and of course it's been done for decades, probably since man has begun, because it's done not even knowing what they were doing. But of course it's popular in sports and things like that. But so I like that idea. I'm going to use that. But also, I think with everybody saying, understanding and talking and getting to the base of whether real danger or perceived danger was, to see where that bottom line was and get to the point. Because I think you can, in the person or thing that's happening to you, their reaction can be interrupted by just you taking that step back and asking them something. Because I could just see them. What do you mean? Do you care? I mean, seriously? So I think that's a great way to, and then to calm yourself down again, so that you're not reacting anymore, but responding too. And because I've always been, I'm an eldest child, so and if somebody around me is in danger, then I am stepping up, and so I to protect people I love I will stand up instantly. But I also, with all the practices I'm learning, I'm hoping now that I can take that step back and listen, like Ken says, and pray at the same time, like everybody's been saying, and see what the new outcome can be, because I think that's possible.
Excellent. Anything else?
Good.
Welcome back, Vanessa.
Hello.
Hi there. So before I speak, did you have any more thoughts?
No, I want to hear what you have to say, if that's all right.
Yeah, let's see what I got.
Okay.
So in terms of being passionate about creating a world that works, it's much less about identifying that it's not working and always looking for an opportunity to transform whatever moment that you're in. So life's not about being better than good. It's not about being excellent rather than better. It's about always having an experience of creation, okay? So for instance, you guys all know Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, right? There's one of the songs that's on the album that they first came out with is called Wooden Ships. And the first line of it is if you smile at me, I will understand, because that's something that everybody everywhere does in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, what it comes down to is expressing and receiving in common language, what's going on right now. And so I really liked what Lisa said about asking questions. And 9 out of 10 times, rather than engaging what people are saying, if it's an uncomfortable conversation, or if I really do feel like this could go either way in the moment, first thing I ask them is, what do you want? You know? And I do that same kind of question when I'm interviewing potential clients, or I'm just having conversation with friends. I really am more interested in what's making them tick, what's motivating them in this circumstance, and what would they see as a possible outcome that, you know, why are they there in the first place, and what do we really want to see happen here? So as I'm thinking about this conversation, I have watched 3 or 4 interviews with people that had been out protesting, where there have been people from one side of a protest and people from another side of a protest who stopped long enough to listen to each other. And then they went and got a Coke, and they sat down and talked. To me, that was unbelievably inspirational. And it wasn't something that was easy for me to go and find, you know, on the internet. I had to search for it for quite a while before I finally found the tape of this. But what we had was this transvestite, self-identified woman with all sorts of tattoos and piercings and all of this sort of thing, talking with a woman who was obviously 60-some years old, and the two of them being able to say, like, oh, you know what I mean? You know, and the other one going, I know, right? And that language, whatever they said to each other in that moment, it transcended whatever was present for both of them before they said hello. So that's iconic for me in terms of where this conversation has to go on the street. That as long as there are people who are, you know, their mission in life and what they get paid to do is to disrupt that ability for people to listen to each other, we have to raise our ability to listen and to understand to a level that is far higher than normal. Not like you've gone to church and we're now going to talk about something that we all sort of agree on and that we can distinguish what it means for each of us personally and say it out loud to share with people so that they have a fuller and richer experience of what they came in with. This is more about, like, what would make you so upset that you would take 18 hours out of your day and you would start marching at 9 o'clock in the morning and you'd still be here at 3 or 4 o'clock in the following day. So what I see as possible is that catches fire. What I see as possible is that people are genuinely out of gas and tired of the yelling and the screaming and the no communication. And they finally retreat back to this place where they've decided maybe it's not as dangerous or as life-threatening, you know, to our way of life as we once thought. Maybe the way forward is for us to tone this down enough to now start to be able to create common language that we both understand, not the language that we used 5 minutes before we met each other, but new language that we're distinguishing this in our conversation. Does that communicate? So yeah, that's kind of turned into a little bit of a rant, and what I'm saying is, if we get to a point with people where it's interesting to them to find out what's motivating other people, when it's in our best interest, you know, to do what's good for everybody that's in the conversation. And I actually didn't know where I was going to go with this, but that's where I've gone, and I don't think I have much more to add to it right at the moment. So now, Vanessa,
mm-hmm.
you get you get to bat cleanup.
I get to what was that?
So in terms of a baseball metaphor, you get to bat cleanup.
Oh, gotcha.
Bases are loaded, not loaded. Knock us in.
Yeah, not gonna lie. I'm looking at the time though, and I realize we're starting to run out of time. Is that right?
We have about 5 more minutes to keep us at around a half hour.
Okay, and I know we want to have time for everyone to say goodbye. Okay. Well, I'll just say that I think that and again, maybe this goes back to the topic of awareness, but I think that a lot of us could benefit more from asking questions and seeking to understand, as opposed to thinking we have the answers. I think a lot of us do that, and I think I think we're not aware, but our own upbringing, whether it be our spiritual upbringing, our familial upbringing, or even our education, I think it makes us feel like we have the answers, and that's a comfort zone. But I think that that's a dangerous place right there.
Yeah.
And I was recently working on an article about actually about depolarizing, and it mostly refers to in the political arena, and there's actually wonderful organizations out there that actually coach people, helping them to just have conversations, to ask questions. And maybe we don't ask questions because we don't know which questions to ask, or we feel stupid, and then that's our pride getting in the way. But I don't want to get off topic. But I do want to say that going along with what you're saying about assessing danger, and I really love the fact, that there was a resource available, that those YouTube videos you found, Bill, that interviewed these people and asked them what their motives were, and asked them what they were thinking, and why they were motivated to go march, in a protest for 18 hours, or and just in general, what motivates people to do what they do. Because, well, you would think that everybody has a motivation behind what they do, but sometimes they don't. Again, maybe that's another question for another day, but sometimes I think we are doing things on autopilot. But going back to the situation with the protest, I think there is a real reason as to why someone would dedicate so much time. So I'm glad, again, that there was a resource available, such as that YouTube video, where you were able to hear this person define their experience and share their why. And I think that I think just to bring it back around, I think it's really important for there to be more resources available to help us ask questions about what we don't understand, and I'm losing my train of thought, so I think I said everything I want to say. So thank you.
So in closing, what I'd like to say, based on what you said, what I'm left with is the training less to do with listening to logical arguments or reasons why. It's the stupidest question ever. Any time you're watching a news program and all their questions start with, why did you do this? Why did they do this? Why didn't they? That's where I turn the channel. There's no new information being discovered there. However, if you are listening not for what's being said, but the invisible side of it, which is, where's your commitment? When you can hear the resonance between another human being's commitment and your own commitment, that resonance transcends the language. And that, I say, is the front door to creating the new conversation, to having the new shared common language. And so if we can train people to listen for other people's commitments and talk to that, don't talk to whatever they're saying that's dogmatic or idiomatic or whatever. Talk to that person's why. And earlier on, I don't know if it was this half hour or the one previous, when I was in grammar school, I was taught the shortest poem in the English language, which is I, why. I think that was a fourth grade thing that I picked up that's always there with me. And then, there's always the statement of the two best days of a human being's life is the day that they're born and then the day that they figure out why that was. So thank you. I do think we're really pressing up against we're on the skinny branches in terms of talking about this. And now the next step is practition, and to get out there and to listen to people who have a differing point of view. First, to tolerate it, then to secondly, have no reaction to it whatsoever, like this is just somebody sharing their thoughts. And then the third one is to understand it to the point where you could actually argue for it. Not that you would, but you could, right? And if human beings can place themselves in a what-if situation where I can not only see why you would say what you're saying, I can not only understand why it's so important to you to say it, I could even say it for you. If you weren't here, I could make your argument for you. I could be as convincing as you are because I feel your passion and your commitment. And I could do that while fully maintaining my ability to completely disagree with you. Which I think is a talent that if we were to go back and to teach that type of interaction to children, and that it's not always about being right, that it's not always about winning an argument, that it's not whatever, right? So again, I want to thank you all. We're at the top of the hour, and it's been an awesome time for me today. I have missed this. This is our first time in what seems like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think so.
So let's go back around, and everyone can kiss the audience goodbye, and we'll go from there. Tina, you're up first.
Hi, Tina Kadish, and thank you, everybody. This has been a great conversation. It's been great to continue to get to know all of you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Ken.
I'm going to say goodbye by sharing a quick tool. When you hear an either or, it's either you're right or they're right. In your head, replace it with a both and. Where can both these things exist, and what becomes possible if that were true? And just that simple language shift can be really helpful.
Awesome. Shelley?
Shelley Kohler, choose with your heart, follow with your mind.
Excellent. Lisa?
I just wanted to say that I honestly, deeply in my heart, do believe that we can create a world that works for all.
And we are.
You just decided that, Lisa.
That's right.
Choosing that.
Vanessa?
I just want to say I really enjoyed this conversation with you all, and thank you very much for your nuggets of wisdom you shared, and I hope the audience also feels the same, and will join us next time. Bye.
Bye.
So I will just put the cherry on the top here by saying I absolutely love that we start every hour not knowing what the dickens we're going to talk about. And there are times when it seems like there's a little bit of whiplash, or there are like, where is this going? But we have to trust ourselves. We've got great minds on this call. We've got very generous human beings in terms of sharing your experiences. I love you all, and I love everyone that ever sees this video, ever. No changes. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, all.
You've been listening to Lighting the Candle, A World That Works, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can hear us at exvadio.com/podcasts, Apple Podcasts app, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and wherever you find podcasts.